Welcome everyone to episode 21 of Rules of the Arena. This episode is brought to you by Blind Ninja Studios, where you can find this show and others such as Department of Defense, Homebrew Bound, and Soundwave, along with Legends of Lothos. This episode is also brought to you by Duck Hill Workshop, a small-scale sawmill and builders of fine furniture, which you can find online at duckhillworkshop.com, and Duck Hill Workshop on YouTube, where you can watch their series In the Shop with Ben and Glenn, and make sure to follow their work on Instagram at Duck Hill Workshop.
I'm honestly kind of bummed that Ben isn't here this week, because I was going to ask him about his new Vice. I've been watching this entire thing on like Duck Hill Workshop about his new Vice. Like, there's an unboxing video, there was an installation video. I think it might be his new wife. I'm not entirely sure, but
Well,
it's
at
beautiful.
least this one's not from Iowa.
I didn't say it, but I agree with it.
She's not in the room, so I can say that. This week, we're sitting down with local members of Bikers Against Child Abuse, the Great Rivers chapter. Thank you all for coming down. Just start real quick down here on the end. If you just want to introduce yourself and just tell how long you've been a member of the organization.
My name is Tumbleweed. I've been a member of the organization since 2014.
Ginger Snap 2014.
And I'm Lionheart 2014 also.
Spunky 2015.
Bull, I've been a member for 8 years.
Gem since 2017.
Sunshine, I've been a member for 5 years, and I'm from Iowa.
Casey.
Way to fuck up. It's okay. People from Iowa can't read, so it's fine.
Okay, I was born in Iowa. Let me just say I was born in Iowa, not from Iowa.
And I am Phoenix 2017.
I'm having Carlos this year's over here. It's cutting in and out.
You're going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Just
Okay.
you don't worry about it. I'll worry about it.
And for the listeners that haven't heard of BACA before, what exactly is your organization?
Step in. I'll start off with reading our mission statement. Is that cool?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to read our mission statement. This basically explains who we are. All right. Bikers Against Child Abuse, BACA, exists with the intent to create a safer environment for abused children. We exist as a body of bikers to empower children to not feel afraid of the world in which they live. We stand ready to lend support to our wounded friends by involving them with an established, united organization. We work in conjunction with local and state officials who are already in place to protect children. We desire to send a clear message to all involved with the abused child that this child is part of our organization and that we are prepared to lend our physical and emotional support to them by affiliation and our physical presence. We stand at the ready to shield these children from further abuse. We do not condone the use of violence or physical force in any manner. However, if circumstances arise such that we are the only obstacle preventing a child from further abuse, we stand ready to be that obstacle. So, yeah.
In layman's terms.
In layman's terms, we're basically a body of bikers, organization of bikers that have big hearts and care for children. And what we do is, like it says there, is empower them children to stand up and get a voice back. We deal with all sorts of different abuse, whether it's physical, emotional, sexual, every different kind of abuse. But most of them push down so much where they don't speak, don't talk up. We give them that empowerment by having a big group of bikers stand behind them and say, you can talk anytime you want. So,
When and where was this organization started?
Provo, Utah in 1995.
And how far have you reached out since, obviously we're here, western Wisconsin, Minnesota area. I mean, where else are you operating?
The growth is huge, mainly in the last 10 years has exploded. I mean, we have 16 different countries, pretty much all 50 states, 47 of them with patch chapters as Great Rivers is, and 3 of them with some forming efforts. So,
and it's what other countries are you operating outside the United States?
Yeah, she gave me a list here. I don't. Well, I know we're in all the provinces of Canada, Australia, Belgium, Germany, Spain, France, Greece, Iceland, Italy, Netherlands, New Zealand, Australia, Switzerland, Sweden, and the United Kingdom. And I know there's some forming effort happening in actually Mexico too.
Just kind of a random question there. Are you guys in Newfoundland?
Newfoundland, yes. Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
There's a lot of fun land over there.
And it's
a
pretty neat.
province of Canada, not a country, Casey.
Yeah,
I said province, and everybody else said country.
yeah, we
Yeah.
figured that
I was
out.
vindicated, damn it.
We're in Canada. We're in Canada.
Yeah.
And something I like that our international president said, we have international conferences where we get to meet BACA people from all over the world. And our president said that BACA is a worldwide organization of bikers who are dedicated to breaking the chains of child abuse. So that puts it in layman's terms a little bit, because we're all volunteers and we're all bikers.
Now, what does that look like for organization? I mean, does the international headquarters, would you call it?
No, we don't really have a headquarters, just chapters. So let's say we have, I don't know what the chapter count is right now, 250 or 300 different chapters. Everyone gets positions like any other organization. We have a continental division, international division, kind of keeps everything in check as far as we run under one mission, and this is the only mission. This mission was written back in 94 or 95, and it hasn't changed since that day.
And it's someone farther up that, they take care of the, everyone's going to meet at this place.
Yep.
I mean, does
Yep.
that change, or do you
No,
only
that's-
have those in the United States, or do you go to the other countries?
Actually, they had, now that it's kind of getting a continental, we're not going to be doing our international. It's going to be kind of divided into regions. Since we're growing so much now, it's different regions, so we'll have region meetings, which the continental boards and different things like that will sit on those. But yes, they had basically what they call their state. They'll pull states together. They have meetings in a regional. Like Wisconsin, I think we're Region 5. The United States are split up with Canada, and I think there's 7 different regions. And then it goes to countries, basically, that run their own show. They have their own international type board put in place.
Could you, in theory, if Australia is throwing a meeting together,
Yep.
is there like an open invite? Everybody
Absolutely.
Yes.
Everybody
Absolutely.
from BACA is invited to every event.
Italy just
So-
had one not too long ago, and we were all invited to go to that. So
Yep. And everyone that's a cleared supporter or member of BACA would be invited to that.
Now, you mentioned in your mission statement, you're working with kids. I mean, now, if a family's going through something, do they reach out to you, or is there someone within the organization that kind of keeps tabs on, here's a legal case going on, maybe we should reach out?
We have, local CPS, Child Protect, they'll reach out, victim witness, different things like that. We've built a good rapport with the court systems in the area, basically in the 6-county area around us, which is Polk, Pierce, St. Croix, Dunn, and this surrounding area, Washington County. They know us pretty well, so we'll get referrals from them. Otherwise, it's just we do a lot of awareness. We're out on our bikes a lot. People ask questions. We hand out these trifolds, and there is a hotline number that they call. We don't reach out to anybody. Everything comes into our hotline number and goes from there.
Sure.
So,
And you mentioned you're volunteering doing this. I mean,
Yep.
how much of a time commitment are you putting in?
it's
a lot.
it depends on the member. We have an 80% percentage. First year, you have to maintain 80%, which is all our mandatory meetings, what we call level 1s when we bring a child into the family. The board can also make court appearances mandatory within 1 or 2 of them a year, and then your monthly meetings. So that's the mandatory or the minimum that you can make in the first year. And then once you become a patch member, that stays at 80%. But we also, in the state of Wisconsin, have voted in, if you want to become a supporter, you can maintain 60%. And it's definitely a lot of hours. I've been doing this 5 years. I started the Great Rivers chapter, and there's some weeks you'll put 40 hours a week into this, meeting and different agencies and stuff like this, and just getting the word out to let them know we're a free resource for kids. So
What? So you mentioned bringing somebody into the family. So what does that look like? Like when you're contacted, like.
So first thing that goes, I'll put Sunshine on that. She's our child liaison. So basically everyone in this room, I'll just go around real quick, has jobs. I just want to point that out. We all pretty much put to work when you come in. Once you have enough people, but you have your 5 board members, which is secretary, VP, president, security officer, and the president. So, like in this room, we have our agency liaison, which is Phoenix right there. She does a lot of our stuff with.
I'd just like to say thank you for putting up with my emails and messages for the last, 3 months or so to organize this.
Well, thanks for putting up with me, too.
No, I understand what you're going through. I deal with Gordon on a daily basis.
Shut up.
And then Sunshine's our child liaison. That's where she'll answer this question, but I just want to go around the room real quick. Gemma's actually our treasurer. She does all the books and merchandise. We have like some of the hoodies you see. We asked for donations on a few different T-shirts and things like that.
If you guys are watching live on twitch.tv/Rules of the Arena.
There you go. Then Bull, he's our longest time member. He does a lot for us. Spunky, she just stepped on as our secretary, but has been a huge asset. We got me, I'm the president. Pain in the ass.
Yep. Can you say that again? One more time. No, we love him to death. He's awesome at what he does. And
I'll get you guys all a clip of that for your cell phone.
Ginger Snap is our events committee. She takes care of all the events. As you see, we got a flyer here. We'll probably let you know about that in a minute. Tumbleweed's our VP. But back to the original question on how we take a child into our family and do that level 1. Sunshine's going to explain how that all goes down for you.
So we do presentations for agencies that are already put in place to help children, usually abused children, which is the victims witness people that work in the DA's office, Child Protective Services, sheriff departments, all kinds of agencies like that. And we give them these trifolds, and on the back of these trifolds is our 800 number. And a lot of times they'll say, we can't be there to protect you 24/7, but maybe these people can help you. And they'll give this to the family. It's up to the family to call us. And these, also we do awarenesses in public. And so these are posted all over and in the public's hands. They will call this 800 number and I answer it. And first and foremost, I'll say, tell me your story. And while they're talking to me and telling me their story, I'm filling out a form. And there's, the first and most important thing is it a legal guardian of the child that's calling me? And if it's not, I'll let them vent, and then I'll tell them, please have mom call me or dad call me. And the most important thing with Bikers Against Child Abuse is that it has to be a legal guardian of the child, not stepmom, not grandma, not neighbor. It has to be the legal guardian. And also, it has to be either a abuse that's been reported or an abuse that is an active court case. And that's only because we are worldwide now, that within the BACA organization we have policies and procedures, we have rules, we have bylaws, and we follow all of those. So we're not just going to go take in any case where someone is accusing someone of abuse when it's not true. So I make sure that it's a valid case, and I bring it to my executive board and say, I have researched this, it's a valid case, this child is being abused by an adult, not a juvenile, and I want to take this case, and I get permission from the board, and then we move forward from that point. And taking a child in is what we call a level 1, and we go to the home, and we actually welcome that child into our family, which is not just a couple of us showing up, but the entire chapter shows up on motorcycles, gives them a cut, and there's a little presentation we give with a BACA teddy bear, a BACA blanket, and it's the first step in empowering that child. Another important thing is that I go to this home and do an intake and make sure that it is a case that falls into our mission, because we have to be very careful of the cases that we take, that we can't empower a child not to be afraid of the world they live in when they're living in the home with the predator. So typically the cases we take, the predator's either in jail or mom's getting divorced and they don't live there anymore. We can't say, don't be afraid of the monster, don't be afraid of the monster, and then send them home with that monster. So, we have to be very careful of what we take, because we are so big, and we follow the rules and regulations. Every single chapter within this organization follows the rules and regulations and keeps in the scope of BACA and within the mission, and that is the child liaison's job to do that. And we do it, and we do it well.
For anyone not listening, can you explain what the cut is?
Yes. it's
that
the-
doesn't know,
Yes.
isn't in the lingo.
It is the black leather vest, or in the really hot states, sometimes they will have a denim blue jean vest. But in the motorcycle world or the MC world, it is called a cut. Every chapter does a little differently, but we have big Baka blankets, we have little teddy bears, and at the level 1, we present these items, and they're not gifts. We're not Santa. We're not the Easter Bunny, but they all have meaning. The bear is, we might pass it around, and we all hug it and say, this is forever hugs. If you need a hug, take it from this bear. This vest makes you part of our family. It's symbolism. And the blanket, if you're scared or you need to feel secure, you wrap yourself in this blanket, and it'll keep you safe. It all has a meaning. It's not just a gift. It has meaning behind it, and it gives the child power, and it makes them feel safe. And it's part of what we do in giving it's the first step in giving the child back their power of not feeling afraid anymore.
And looking at everybody's vest, it seems very uniform as where your patches are going. Is that set by chapter, or was that kind of when the organization was started, this is how we're going to do this?
No, there's no real. I mean, there is to a extent, and chapters follow the way it's set. We all follow, how we put this patch on and that. There's only basically one rule. The front of it cut is basically the members. They can do what they want with it. The back of it, the only thing allowed on the back is our back patch, and then No Child Deserves to Live in Fear rocker, which is on the bottom, and then the potato patch, which we call this. That's different chapters all over. It's either on the right or the left. It's really not, the front, I would say, is not a uniform of any kind, but the back is. You'll always see, doesn't matter what state, country, wherever you're at, the back patch is always going to be placed the same spot, location on the back, along with the rocker. So.
And for a different question too, those back patches have to be earned. They're not just given out.
Yeah, those.
Right.
Is that more, you've been in the organization for X amount of time?
A minimum of 1 year.
And it's training. You have to earn it.
This training, is it done by the chapter, or do you have outside sources that you go through for
right.
this?
At this time, it's outside sources. We do what we call webinars. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with that if they're podcasting. But, yeah, we do webinars. Trainers from our international trainers have picked a committee of trainers that any of us eventually can be doing that. The goal is definitely here in the state of Wisconsin, Minnesota, that we'll be to that point and start getting certified trainers so we can do training in-house. The state is fairly new. I wouldn't say new. It's been around in this state for about 10, 11 years, but it's only been one chapter. Now we're up to 7. So we're getting to that part where we'll hopefully have state meetings, do our own in-house training, make it a stronger network, and not have to reach out so far to get help.
Do you need to have a degree or any prior experience in order to become a trainer then?
No, not to. Well, I'm sure they're looking for it. It's pretty, I know Bulls went through some of the training. They make sure you're the right person for the right job. Not anybody is jumping into it.
A little bit of a vetting process is in place.
Yeah, there's
already.
a vetting process, definitely. Not anyone's going to be a trainer,
And it's teaching us about the BACA policies and procedures, but also how to work with these abused children. And it's keeping every chapter in every state and every country on the same straight and narrow. So we're all doing things the same way, and so that we're not just a bunch of dumb bikers. But it's a lot of counseling things. We're on the same eye level as these children. We're not standing over them. We're on the same level. Agencies that come and watch us do these level 1s are like, we're really impressed of how you guys are doing this, and you're not just a bunch of dumb bikers. You really know what you're doing, and that's BACA's goal, is that we are in fact helping the children, and not we're empowering them, not enabling them.
See, another thing about what we do as well is every single one of us is we have to go through an NCIC criminal background check to make sure that we can pursue what our ultimate goal is, to knock out child abuse, break the chains. So that's one of the other things that we do to ensure that. But after you do your NCIC criminal background check, then you have to go through a lot of training before you even have any contact with a child. So we make sure that each person that wants to join the organization is the proper fit for doing what we do.
So is your training strictly webinars, or is it a lot of like classroom work, or do you guys do some hands-on stuff?
Yeah, we do hands-on stuff. There's some different things that we do hands-on, and then also our international convention, that was always filled with training, blocks of training. You do like 3 a day. That was mainly what the reason of getting together for that international training or international convention, but it was mainly a training. That's why we went there, and they'll keep continuing to do that. If anything ever changes, which it does a little bit here and there, they'll have a training set up. We've been to Arizona, different places like that. Wherever it's necessary, we send the right people down there in order to do those trainings and bring that information back and share it with the rest of the chapter. So keep on top of all of it.
So you mentioned you were working closely with like county professionals in the like I guess the 6-county area. Yeah. Are you guys a recognized state organization, or?
No, we don't want to be recognized as state. It's one thing we have as Wisconsin on our back patch, but we're in Minnesota as much as we are in Wisconsin.
Okay. Well,
as far as and that goes along with the whole Baca Nation. Like you said, if we could have what we call level 1, bring a child in the family. We'll have people from Minnesota, Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, even maybe someone from Texas that's up here visiting their mother or something in Minneapolis might show up at one of our level 1s.
Okay.
We go through the chains. If that happens, that the president sends a letter to the other presidents, lets them know I got a guy coming and he's good, and we don't just let anyone show up when we're going to deal with kids, but
yeah.
It can be anybody.
So at the national level, so if somebody is coming up here and they're visiting family or whatever, and they end up in a situation where they need to involve Baca, and then they're going back home, you can contact the president of an organization down there and talk to them.
Absolutely, and the one great thing, the Baca organization was donated Microsoft Office 365. So that's our channel. We all communicate with everyone nationwide.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So when I send an email, I can send an email to the whole nation. I mean, not that, don't be that guy, but
have you guys seen this really cool meme?
But we have that option to do that and reach out. I mean, there was just real quick on an incident we had down in Arizona. Child needed some help. They threw out basically that email to the whole nation, and we needed help in a court case down there. And I think we had 300-400 people. This was on a Sunday. I was out ice fishing on Mille Lacs, got the email, and ended up in Arizona Monday morning. And I was there for that kid in court, and there was about 500 of us in a Walmart parking lot that morning there to support that child. Mm-hmm. So that's what it's all about. We all volunteer, but we sacrifice a lot also in our lives to do this.
There's a reason we say one Baca. Mm-hmm. It's literally one Baca.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, I remember, not too long ago, Hudson was having some issues with illegal biker groups.
Yeah.
And they banned, how they word it, colors, I think is how the law was written.
Yeah.
And my buddy, he's in the Harley Davidson group based out of New Richmond area.
Yeah.
And they had to watch how many of them rode together with the same patch. I mean, can you work with the local municipalities?
Municipality.
The police
officers.
Words are important, man.
Yeah, that's just a word I couldn't
But they're
make.
hard.
I've actually we haven't had that issue. So if it comes upon, we were with the local law enforcement all the time. We do a national night out with them. They know who we are. We do events like the Polar Plunge, different things where we're with them all the time. We do presentations for them also.
Yeah, it was this last weekend you did the Polar Plunge, was it?
Yeah. Or the river plunge.
River dunk.
Sorry.
River dunk. There you
I'm sorry, that sounds cold as shit.
It was cold as shit.
Yeah.
I do it every year,
Depends
and I don't
upon
know
who you
why.
are. I didn't have anything to do with jumping in the water, but I was there. So
Yeah,
I got a beer in my hand, washing you guys. We're good.
My old boss tried to rope me into that. It's like, hey, I've been through the ice 4 times. I'm not going for number 5 anytime soon.
But we'll see. I guess if that happens, I haven't been aware of that, and I didn't know that. But I'll definitely reach out.
Yeah, and I had
ask.
no idea until he brought it up one day because, again, I said, he's part of that group.
That's one thing too. When we go to these level 1s or come to this child's home, we let local law enforcement know before we pull up. we learned our lesson when we first started that if you pull into a neighborhood with 50 bikes, that the police will show up there anyway.
And that's actually how I first learned about Baca many, many years ago. It was an article on, I believe, the Chive via Facebook. And it was down in Arizona, and they talked about how 50 bikers just showed up and were hanging out with this kid out in the driving way, out in the driveway, excuse me, not driving range.
You said driving way.
Yeah. and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And that's when I first saw everything. And Bull and I have met through our careers and everything. He's the one that put the bug in my ear about getting you guys down here.
Yeah.
And so, as far as recruitment goes, I mean, can somebody just come in and fill out an application, or do they have to reach out to the organization?
So the way that works is you come to 2 meetings. All our meetings are open to the public, so if people are listening, you want to see a little more, you're more than welcome to come up. YMCA, second Sunday of the month in Hudson at 5:30. Just show up.
Just a quick interject here. If they're not in this area, because podcasts are worldwide,
doesn't matter.
Where can they go to find where their local meeting is?
That would be
BacaWorld.org.
BacaWorld.org.
And then you can select chapters.
Okay.
From there.
You can find a chapter that's close to wherever you are.
All right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, the way it's set up now, it's got a huge map on it, and you just click on there, a little dot next to your state or city or wherever you live, and it'll give you the directions and the meeting time and location.
Yeah, so
it's really
BACA.org.
Yep, perfect.
BacaWorld.
Or BacaWorld. Okay,
Yes.
BACAWorld.org.
And as soon as you type in BAC, you're going to get 65,000 different links to. So you'll get there. you'll get there. So, but yeah, they just show up at a meeting. Our policy is I know it is different a little bit around the country, and you show up to 2 of our meetings, then you'll sit with our executive board to see if we think you're a fit. We're not going to waste time if we don't think you're a fit. But we come from all backgrounds: lawyers, doctors, construction workers, whatever it may be, house moms to whatever. But if you sit in the board, if we don't hear anything in the word kid coming out of your mouth, that's my clue. You can move on. We're not here to ride around with as a motorcycle group. Hog does a real good job of that. If you want to go ride, and go with them. But if you're really here to help empower kids, this is where you come. And just show up, do 2 meetings, and we'll do an NCIC background check. You'll do your training for a minimum of a year, and then you might be able to be a primary to a child. So
now with that minimum first year, say somebody joins in another state, West Coast, and they got a promotion through work, and they got to come out here. Does that time with you transfer over, or does that reset the clock?
It can. Basically the 2 chapters are going to communicate with each other. Security officer will send a letter also along with the president, giving information on that person, give them their background check, let them know that they passed the background check. Here it is. Here's what's on his record, so he's clear. And then it's up to the representing chapter to decide where they think he's at. And they'll ask enough questions to find out. So I can say yes and I can say no. There might be a chapter that's like, we don't know who you are, and we want you to ride with us for a year before we're going to let you do it.
Well, and it seems like riding with you for a year is a very small price to pay to just vet somebody who's dealing with a child.
Yeah.
People that are here for the right reasons,
they don't care.
They don't care if they got to ride for 2 years before they...
Exactly.
Yeah, they don't care. If you're here for the right reason, that's
a good way to vet people out, too.
Yeah. And that year, that's just minimum. Most of them, you ain't getting your patch on your 12th. If you're asking for it on your birthday of the day that you actually got your NCIC check, which is kind of how we go by, then we know there's problems there. So... We got a rule of thumb.
It's not about the patch.
Yeah, we got a rule of thumb. If you're asking for a patch, you're probably not going to get it.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
We're not here about this patch isn't anything to do. I mean, it shows our united nation and all that, but it's not anything to do with the kid. I mean, it means you can be a primary to a child, and that's it. Yeah. We rode for years.
And so, as a primary to a child, what does that mean specifically?
So, at that level 1 that we were talking about, we pull up, welcome in the family. 2 people are given our primaries to that child, which are points of contact, which POC. Those are the 2 that they can talk to 24/7. They're given the phone numbers too. They're the ones that go back and visit with them every couple weeks. You know, the level one's the start of the empowerment process. The two primaries take over, get to know them, and let them know that this group is here behind you. We don't show up at that kid's house with 25 people every 2 weeks. We couldn't do that. So 2 people get to be their source, bond, get that relationship going, and then when the tough times come, like court or anything like that, that's when we bring the rest of us.
So your chapter has been around for, you said 5-6 years?
Yep.
And I'm guessing BACA as an organization has been along longer. Have you seen children who have benefited from BACA join BACA? Like, is that a thing that's kind of happened, or they've started their own chapters, or?
Yeah, I mean, I personally, as far as I've seen the BACA children join, but not the actual one that like started a chapter or something like that. But there's a lot of them. We have a story with us right here that she can tell you real quick on that note, but. Yeah, it's happening all over the BACA nation. If you want to tell your story a little bit, Spunk.
Well, I'm a BACA mom.
Come forward.
Get closer, Spunk.
You got to about eat the mic.
And I originally...
Yeah, just pull that forward for her.
I originally found out about BACA in court while I was dealing with a court case for one of my children, so I needed their services at one point in time, and I just physically seen the change in my child. You know, with BACA being around and the empowerment and how that child went from being afraid and not wanting anybody to know to not caring who knew because his new family was bigger and badder than anybody else. And I waited until everything was done and took my cool off period and knew the day I seen the change that I was going to end up joining BACA.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah.
Sure. And then this girl, she wasn't a motorcyclist or anything. We've trained her. We've got her.
She's more the bicyclist. Like, I'm gonna.
I mean, just to see that, that's what and her is a perfect example of that's what we're looking for. You know, some of them might come if you came and you have this, you know, desire to help children, empower children in this way, and you know, you're just a weekend rider or whatever, we don't give a shit. We'll help out in that way. As long as you ride. You have to ride or have a backseat sponsor. You know, that's...
So she got her motorcycle license, saved up, bought her own motorcycle, rode with us, and became to sit on our executive board because she saw her own child take his power back, and that's amazing. But we do have kids that invite us to their military training, in BACA overall, invite us to their weddings. And there's actually a survey that was taken that shows that kids that are involved in BACA are not just become regular members of society and don't abuse their own kids, but are a certain percentage more likely to testify and break the chains of abuse. And we see it happen. We see it happen with our own eyes, you know?
It's incredible. To lighten the mood just a little bit. I have to ask, so the Italian members of BACA, do they ride mopeds or?
Actually, I've seen some. I met a lot of them in our international conference, and yeah, I've seen some of their bikes. They're some different ones. They got some real bikes too, though.
I got one of their shirts on right now. I got one on too.
Just riding little mopeds around Rome.
Not in our chapter. That's all.
Not in our chapter.
It's like I show up with my little 20cc thing.
No,
Just throw a tow chain.
if it won't do 80, leave it at home.
Well, but 80's just not safe, you know.
So you mentioned that they have to ride. Now, what if, under the circumstance, say somebody's in an accident and they lose an arm or leg and they're no longer legally allowed to ride a motorcycle, can they still somehow be a member or, you know, you said supporter of the organization?
Yeah, in that way, to be honest, it'd be case by case through the board. If they were a biker at one time, I would the board might have some discussion on it. If it's someone that's wounded and just that was never their interest to begin with, so they don't know the background of biker community of it at all, I don't know if I'd maybe, like I said, we'd have to look at it, the situation. But if you were already in it, and something like that happened, that's a different story. If you're just deciding that's, you know, 40s and midlife crisis that all of a sudden you're gonna join a biker, organization and try to go help kids, and I don't know.
We all saw Wild Hogs.
Yeah. That's exactly why we got to have this.
Right.
No, if you're a woman and you don't ride, but your husband's the road captain or the VP or whatever, and then your husband or even a friend, whatever, could be your seat sponsor.
Yes.
Then you could ride on the back of his bike all the time. Then you can be in Baca and just be on the back seat all the time.
Yeah.
That's what a seat
And
sponsor
we've
is.
we've had people in the organization that have had a seat sponsor and have been involved with us.
The main thing is the way we empower these children is the motorcycle.
Yes.
So on this level 1, we give this 5-year-old, 6-year-old the option to pick out a motorcycle and go for a ride. That's where you see the empowerment come. Like when we do this in the winter, which sucks in Wisconsin, we try to ride as long as possible. There's years where I've done level 1s in December, January, February on a motorcycle, but as you can see this year, it's not going to happen.
You guys switch to sleds at any
Yeah,
point?
well,
Like,
that's what I'd love to. If I get one out in a rural area, I'd be doing that. But yeah, just so
then it's just soccer, right? Like sledders.
Sledder, yeah, soccer.
Snowmobiles.
Yeah.
We have ridden in December.
Yeah. But we will go back.
Well, a couple years ago, it's beautiful.
The children that don't get a ride that we do in the winter, they get a ride in the spring first thing, as soon as we can get them on it. And that's where the thing is. And we never want to bring a car to a level 1. That's not what it's about. So that's why I say it's that important that when we pull up, it's, we're lining the street in front of your house with a bunch of bikes. I don't need a bunch of minivans or
You're getting the cops called on you. That's important.
Right. No, but sometimes
No, they already know.
We have the cops
Yeah.
come.
Well, I know they already know, but you still have Doris next door dialing like, there's a bunch of people over here. I don't know.
Usually-
I'm looking over the fence.
Yeah, usually our security officer will get a count. They'll call back once in a while and say, yeah, we had 15 calls that you guys were in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
And we
they'll
told them,
say,
don't worry about
we know.
it.
And sometimes we've had cases where they come just to watch. They take pictures with us and put it on their Facebook page.
Right.
Yeah.
Free advertising.
They just want to watch. Yeah.
Well, I suppose at this
We've
point,
had
I
law
mean,
enforcement agencies come and take pictures with us, and
Sit on the bikes.
yeah,
I was going to say, at this point, I mean, the organization Bach has been around long enough. I mean, does local law enforcement at this point recognize you, even if you might not have a chapter in that area? I mean, is it a fairly well?
Yeah,
welcome?
I think it's pretty, like, for example, me and Bo, I don't know, where the hell were we in Wisconsin, that, we're just riding, we pull into a gas station, and she knew of who we were. It wasn't a chapter in this area at the time. And just sat and talked with her, gave her more information. She had a little background of us and heard of the name Baca, and a little bit, maybe a YouTube video here or there, and just got super interested, and we started sharing information, and I'm sure she's a big advocate at this point.
Do you guys see a lot of like Leos or ex-Leos like kind of joining the group, or?
Oh geez, you had to go there.
I mean,
No, I'm kidding.
He had
But
to go
anyway,
I'm sorry. It was just a question. I didn't realize it was gonna get that kind of.
I'm just gonna.
It's a can of worms.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
yeah. Just we'll drop that topic.
Yep,
for Leo's
sounds
thing.
good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, going back to, you said you've rode in December and January before. I mean, I've seen the Euro bikes with the 2-wheel drive. I mean, anybody have those, and how do they handle?
No.
No, none of us have those.
Most of us ride Harleys. I mean,
Yeah,
there's a few that don't.
yeah. It doesn't really matter Harley name or any of that. Just the 2 wheels. I mean, actually, as our chapter, unless someone came in with a, some disability of some kind, we ain't letting those big. I don't know what the hell you call them anyway, but
Yeah.
Slingshot.
Slingshot.
we're
There you
kind
go.
of keeping them clear of the group. It's not. I mean, if someone came in, we have case by case, but it's
So the rule is it doesn't matter how cold it is, but if there's no ice and no snow on the roads, we ride.
That makes sense.
That's the rule.
yeah. As long as everyone's safe,
Yep.
they can freeze their nuts off, but they can still ride.
Yep.
Right.
Wouldn't be the first time. Won't be the last.
Went from our house to Green Bay and back that day. It was
That
20
is a
20 degrees when we
long,
left.
boring drive.
Yeah.
I live over by Mall of America, and that's where I started off from. So,
That's a longer drive. Longer, more boring drive. Like,
but when this guy asked me to ride with him, and it's 20 degrees,
You're there.
I'm on it. I will, any day of the week, all day long.
You ever had that moment where you look at the text message on your phone and go like,
oh, fuck, he does that. He does that every single time.
How much do I love this person?
I don't think any of us are going to admit to that.
Yeah, I already know the answer. So
I'll admit it.
Anyway.
I've looked at it and said, "Oh God, are you kidding me?" All right, fine, I'm in.
Backtrack a little bit to that recruitment. I mean, you talk about, it helps to have experience if you're looking to become a trainer and such. I mean, do you require any background experience to join?
No, not as far as like in child or none of that. No, just a desire to help children. Like I said, I want to hear when I sit down as a board member, and I hope it keeps going after I'm not a board member, but I need to hear that word child or some kind of talk about children in your interview. Otherwise, let's kind of move on.
Yep.
I've heard, just be honest, I've heard, I can't wait, to ride with a group, and I'm just, I really like to ride, and I want to go ride, and you guys ride, and this and that, and you'll go for an hour and try to pry, not really even pry, but you don't hear it.
Yep.
That's not what we're about. We
Just
are a
wanna help
motorcycle
kids.
organization, but we want to help the kids.
Helping kids, and then the motorcycle side is kind of the
That's
benefit.
just the added bonus.
Yeah, it's all about the kids, 100%.
And if there's anybody listening out there that wants to get a hold, what's that phone number again that they can call into?
So if they're going to do, like you said, if they're not in this area, they can go to bacaworld.org, or otherwise you can call 1-888-806-KIDS, and that's extension 7 for the Great Rivers chapter. Or there's you can get on there, and we're number 7, but there's 7 chapters in the state. So, and then the international, basically our hotline numbers or helpline number is 866-71-ABUSE, and that'll go nationwide, which will get back to us too. There's many ways to get a hold of it.
Just random. Like, you guys drive or ride in all kinds of weather, right?
Yeah.
Just for listeners who maybe won't necessarily be BACA members but are just riders, do you have any advice for cold weather or wet weather driving? Or
Be
riding?
careful.
Heated gear and rain gear.
Yeah, heated gear. I'll tell you
gear,
one
rain
thing.
gear.
I've had a lot of tough ass bikers and won't do heated gear. I bought heated gear, and now pretty much the whole group has heated gear.
So is heated gear it just has electrical
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, I finally bought heated gear last year. Yeah, I'm glad I finally bought it. Because I'll tell you what, riding from my house to Green Bay, Wisconsin and back in 20 degrees, it's kind of chilly without it. But when you've got it, piece of cake.
I kind of want to go, and Gordon, stop me if I'm completely out of line here. You guys do too. What's the worst ride you've ever taken? Personally, I just kind of want to go around the circle and hear your horror story.
With or without, being.
Yeah, no, just a fucking ride where you're like, this is miserable,
Ride
and I'm
2 years
upset.
100-mile ride 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yep.
That was miserable.
Monsoon.
It monsooned the whole
That
time.
ain't nothing,
It rained.
20 degrees outside,
It was
and
cold. It rained.
my daughter actually rode along because it was open for people to ride, and she actually made it through the whole entire ride.
She was
one of
Mom,
us.
this is the worst. I could be home playing Fortnite.
Honestly, but I don't even think that's one of the worst ones for me. I mean,
rain ain't nothing.
no.
I know what Jem's spell is, but
Yeah.
mine was
Kansas.
mine is probably riding from Colorado back to here with average temperature about 20
Oh,
degrees.
Jesus.
And then we hit snow, actually, just as way out, but hitting a bunch of snow, sleet coming out of the mountains side of the pass into Denver. So,
What's worse to ride on? Was snow or gravel?
gravel ain't a
Gravel.
problem.
It was
Snow is
Snow.
worse. Yeah,
I just
snow's
remember
worse.
I was going down County Road F when it was all under construction. It was this gravel, and it was raining, and my truck hydroplaned on gravel, and I thought, oh, this is great. And there's a group of bikers in front of me, and it's like, I'm going to hang back about 150 feet.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you.
I got a 6-ton truck. It's not going to stop anytime soon. So
Gravel's not that bad. Snow is worse, for sure.
Yeah. I'd like gravel under me if there's snow. I'll go
Yeah.
that route.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, you got some good traction there.
Yeah.
Actually, the hardest one for me is heat. We went through Nashville,
No.
and we had a bag of ice sitting between my husband and I on the motorcycle, and I was feeding him ice chips. It was brutal. That was hot.
Yeah.
Mine was the pinwheel ride when we got dumped on, and we were stopping county to county, putting pinwheels in for child abuse awareness, and it was about 40 degrees and raining, and my windshield wasn't properly placed because I was such a new rider, so the windshield aimed directly in my face. And I couldn't figure out why I couldn't keep my glasses on. And on top of that, we got sprayed by a semi passing, so I had water inside my glasses, and I thought I was going to die. And then we showed up to the courthouse, and the news people were there, so that was even worse because we were all drowned.
Drowned rats.
I guess mine would be we had court in Eau Claire, and we always have a meetup spot in Baca, and everybody meets at one spot, and then we do our business, and
That's a good one.
and the only two bikes showed up were me and Lionheart. And everybody's looking at us like we're the dumbest fuckers in the world. And by the time court was done, it was like thaw freeze time, like 30-32. And we made it home, but it was
Sketchy.
your asshole puckered to the seat.
My first ride out to Merrill, Wisconsin, they forced me to go. It was
No,
probably
nobody forced you to
30
do anything.
degrees. And I was on a Yamaha 650, so imagine trying to keep up with them. It was the worst.
But I think someone gave her a little thing to hang off her bike, and it was a little pair of balls.
Big balls, right? Big balls.
And they said, Jem, you got balls of steel. You earned these, honey. And yeah, she's a trooper. So I've had so many, I can't even pick one out of it. I could just say that I have a seat sponsor, which is Lionheart, and I just sit behind him.
Just ducking
I
down.
just fucking duck and dive and hide behind him like that, so that's good. And so I can't even pick one.
I like the way
just-
you ride. That would be my way.
Oh yeah,
Like-
duck and dive, baby. And then nothing's getting through that. You know,
Yep.
it works pretty good. And I usually don't have the heated gear here either. But he gave me a coat recently, so I'm like, oh, that'd be cool. But he blocks most of it. So, but what I do want to say though is it's the coolest thing when there's the whole chapter, which could be 20, 25 bikes, and we're going through town, or it's a legacy ride or 100-mile ride, which is an awareness ride, and we'll be going down, say, Main Street at River Falls or whatever, and you'll drive by cars, and the adults look over and they're like, holy shit, and they're rolling up the window and don't make eye contact, the parents in the front seat are like this, and but
Kids
the
are going-
little kids are in the back window, and their faces are glued. Their little faces are just glued to the back window, and we're throwing them tattoos, and mom and dad are in the front, like, I told you not to make eye contact. And so you can just see how they're so enthralled and so
You're supposed to be good Lutheran children. Sitting
yeah.
back there.
And so the stigma might be there for the parents, but the kids are just totally enamored by us. So
Kids dig us.
That's how it works. They just think that we are the coolest thing, and that's how it works. I mean, it's simple, but it works.
We're not role models.
Yeah, we are not role models by any stretch of the imagination.
I mean, you talked, you and Bull were in middle of nowhere, Wisconsin, and somebody recognized you and saw you and was happy you're there. I mean, do you ever come across where there's a pushback or negative response to being around?
I wouldn't say negative, but just trying to break that, break the ice basically. Some of the counties it's taken years and years, but just, and that's I believe that just comes with time. If you keep knocking the door down and just showing that you're committed, and the same people are just keeping showing up, it's just like anything, like a job. As long as you show up every day, you'll probably have one, And I know there's a lot of organizations that come and go. So, we're not going anywhere. As you can see, as being a worldwide organization, if this chapter leaves, there's someone that's going to be here to take it over. So moves on or whatever happens, there's people here to help them. So
Is it the biker stigma that you guys run into mostly? That's like people hear bike organization and they think, they're thinking like 1960s, like Hell's Angels and shit like that. Like, is that kind of what you run into on the local level?
Sometimes
With the
Not
public.
With the
With the
public.
public.
Okay.
Not with
It's-
the agencies.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, the agencies? No, not
All
so
right.
much. As long as maybe they read, even the flyer that's 2 pages and educate themselves. Hopefully, they don't come
You
out.
think
with
we
that
can
yeah,
read?
Yeah. Like you said,
We have
that
family in Texas.
your first eye thing, and you don't know nothing about us. There's going to be that walk away type thing. or
Okay.
Get out of the way, and yeah. But otherwise, once they know and see, and they can catch the patches. Like I said, around here, they know who we are.
They see us in the courtroom and they are thoroughly impressed, the agencies. And
That's awesome.
so the thing is to get in with the public and let them see us, and then we have word of mouth. So we've helped this little chapter in small town Hudson, 1 chapter in Wisconsin out of 7 have helped over 200 children.
Oh, that's amazing.
So imagine that, 1 chapter, 200 children. How many chapters in Wisconsin? Over 300 chapters in the United States. Count all those children. That's 1 person in 1 chapter. We are making a difference. And so 1 child at a time, we are making a difference in this world.
And not just a difference, a measurable difference.
A measurable difference in this world. That's thousands of children that won't go on, hopefully, to abuse their own children. And that, to me, just shows that I alone in this world can make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
If you think, who am I can't make a difference. Yes, you can. And we are.
And on the Baca World website, there actually is a study that the University of Texas had done in regards to some of the kids that have gone through the system, and it shows how we have made a difference for those children.
And they do go on and join Baca, and there are videos even on YouTube that with these children telling Baca changed my life. And
So you're not just creating an organization, you're creating a legacy organization
Yes.
that will
Yes.
continue to go on and help children.
and that is our goal, even with the symbolism in our patches, is to break the chains of abuse. And that is our goal with these kids, that they don't go on and continue this family legacy of abuse, is to break those chains of abuse.
If there's anybody out there listening and where they happen to live, there's no Baca chapter, is there a different channel they can go through to get in contact to start one?
Yeah, and they would want to get a hold of the closest chapter that's to their area. If it's 4 hours away, that's too far, of course, for someone to go join that chapter. But if they got a group of guys together, that chapter would probably, there'd be someone to work with them in order to help them out starting a chapter.
Do you guys have a seed process that you guys kind of go through? Where, so, like, to train in a new
Yes.
chapter organization?
Yeah, like this chapter I started, you start from ground zero, do all the training. It takes probably, it did at our time 2.5 years to become a patch chapter, known as a full chapter. Otherwise, we're a forming effort at that time.
There's chapter development officers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And each state has officers, put in place in order to help them. But the best thing is, and if you get 5-10 guys together to start a chapter, is you want to bring them to the closest, whether it's 4 hours away, at least get over there and see what it's all about.
So as a chapter, do you kind of find people who would be good CDOs, or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People that have done it.
and then
I
push
be-
them out and be like, hey, you go help these people. Like,
I believe that there should be people that have started chapters, and that's my belief. Worked or been in the organization a long time, 10, 15 years. Those guys, they know. They've seen it. They've done it. They should know.
And usually each state has a chapter development officer
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
that travels around and helps these kind of people that want to develop a chapter.
okay.
And what about other countries? Like, there's a bit of an international
Oh, you
audience here.
mean the moped riders in?
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
we have an international CDO officer, and he's the one that's flown around and got all the New Zealand and
He has the best
Germany,
job.
and yeah, he does.
That'll-
We
that'll-
got to remember though, he's a volunteer.
doesn't get paid.
You don't get
Yeah,
paid.
that all
Yeah.
depends if he likes to fly or not. Me, I'd rather just keep my feet on the
I mean, if
ground.
you got that TSA pre-check, and it's great. Like,
Until they put you on a CRJ 900, which is about a half size bigger than a Cessna.
Yeah.
Gordon, I'm not a ogre. Like,
Yeah, I'm like this for 4.5 hours on the
Yeah.
plane. That's great.
Even not being an ogre, they're not fun to sit in.
No, not for that one. But yeah, there's one. He's done really good work throughout the organization. Everyone has, but in the last 10 years, it's exploded.
But even on like that on the internet, you say, contact the closest chapter. Say, you have that chapter in Italy, but someone on the ass end of Norway wants to start. They should get in touch with that closest.
Well, I mean, if
chapter
it's
first.
that far, you're gonna reach through the chains. Probably send once you're on BacaWorld.org, there's an area where you can address CDO, whatever you want. You just send an email. Trust me that you're gonna get an email back.
Yeah, if that person in the backside of Norway contacts someone, I can't help you, but this person I think can. I mean, they'll follow. They'll
put
find
you
you.
through
They'll find you somebody to talk to.
It's not like
So-
corporate America where you
No,
have
no,
to-
no. This is the real
Very
deal,
serious.
man. They will find you somebody to talk
A
to.
true grassroots organization.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And although we don't get money, we absolutely have our paydays
Payday.
where we see these kids that when I go do the initial intake and this child won't even come out from behind the couch. 6 months later, they're walking up through the courtroom and up there and saying, "This is my family. The Baca people, they're a good family," and they're up there testifying against an old, maybe even their own family member, and telling their truth, and they're confident and they're courageous and they are not afraid, and that's our payday.
Have we got time for the story about the starfish?
Absolutely.
We absolutely do.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't
You
work
tell
until
us.
7 a.m.
Right.
tomorrow.
Well,
So.
no. I think Ginger Snap should tell this one because it was a little gal that she was a POC for, and I really think that she should tell the story because I think it would have the most impact.
I agree.
Go ahead.
Can you do this? Can you do this without crying your eyes out?
I can try.
Oh, so good.
I had this cute little girl who really had a shit life going.
Well, I mean, I wasn't trying to hit her in the face with it.
No, I had this little girl, and she had this really shit life going. And every time I left a visit, I would call Sunshine, and I'm like, God, do I have to leave this child here? And knowing you have to leave a child in a shit situation and seeing her get adopted into a fantastic family and knowing she's going to have a fabulous life and not be abused anymore and she's going to have all the love in the world. It was my best story.
It's a good story.
You tell this.
Okay, honey. So she would call me as a child liaison and as a POC and say, "Okay, how do I deal with this? How do I?" And I would say, you just this is what you got to do. It's all going to be okay. You got to leave her there, and it's one of our biggest success stories because even though she was in a shit situation, she still fit our mission, and we needed to help her, and we did. And she found the strength to do what she had to do and get out of that situation. And she was going into foster care. And I said, this could be good or bad, but let's just pray that it's good. And it was good. She got into a wonderful foster care situation, and they ended up adopting her. And just a couple of us, 4 of us here, went to her adoption party. And I, as a child liaison, I know the abuse that happened. I know what happened. I know who committed the crime. I know all the details, but I don't share it with anyone else in the chapter. That's my job. So many times I'll tell the kids, especially if it's a teenager, which this wasn't, but don't be embarrassed about what happened to you. All these grown-ass men are not going to know. Only I know. And I don't tell them. They don't know. They don't care. I just say this kid needs our help, and they show up. And that makes them feel more comfortable. And unless or until they go to court and they sit there and go, "Oh my God, Sunshine, how do you do this?" And I say, therapy. It's therapy. But anyway, Little Doll is her biker name. The kids get to pick their own biker names. Got adopted, and it turned out to be a wonderful situation. And we went to the adoption party, and they had balloons and T-shirts and all this wonderful things. And they're like, "Oh," and the adopted mom was, "Oh my God, we got our real name on that." And I said, "It's quite all right, By this time, they know her real name. It's plastered all over, but." The adopted mom said they used her real name, but I'll say, "Doll, do you want to tell the family now how Baca came into your life? Or is it okay if I tell?" The mom said. And the little girl said, "No, I want to tell." And so she got up there and told the family about how Baca came into her life, and she said, "I want to tell a story that I learned in church." And she said, there's a little girl who's walking down the beach, and she was picking up all the starfish and throwing them back in the ocean. Pick them up, throw them in the ocean, picking them up, throwing in the ocean. And she got halfway down the beach, and an old man came up and said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "I'm throwing the starfish back in the ocean." And the old man said, "Why?" And she said, "Because when they come up under the beach, then they dry up and die." And he said, "Well, that's just stupid. You're just wasting your time. You can't save them all." And she picked up one last starfish, and she threw it in the ocean and said, or he said, "It just doesn't matter." And she picked up one last starfish and threw it in the ocean and said, "It matters to this one." And so Ginger Snap cried, of course, and because she said, "That's what Baka did for me. I'm their starfish, and they saved my life." Ginger Snap cried. It's all good, it's all good. So we left, and then we got in the mail, or I got in the mail, a package of silver starfish to go on chains for Ginger Snap and myself and Lionheart and Tumbleweed. And it said on one side, Doll, which was her biker name, and the other side said, "It mattered to me," so that we saved her. So it was very touching. Very.
Quit cutting fucking onions, Casey.
In other words, we can't help
well,
all
I'm
the
going to
chil-
keep asking follow-up questions.
We can't
You're
help,
crying in
you
the
know,
corner.
Yeah.
I'm in the corner.
We
I'm
can't
a
help.
cold-hearted bastard. So.
We can't help all the kids, but we helped her, and it mattered to her. And it was just very sweet, very touching, very, very. And Ginger Snap was her POC, so it was very important to her because it was
And
a
she will
long,
always be my favorite. I'm sorry.
long, drawn-out battle.
You can't say always.
I know.
And one thing
I've got lots of
just to go back on that was it showed the empowerment right there. So when she said her mom asked if she could tell the family why we're involved, so she invited us to this new family. She didn't know this new family, not at all,
very well.
like very well. This is an adoptive family, so they invited all their family, meaning that they don't.
She didn't know
hardly
them.
know these people, and she was strong enough to get up and tell these people what actually happened to her and why we're involved.
And she gave details.
Yeah.
I kind of have a question about just kind of from a psychological standpoint, the child choosing their biker name, is that a completely empowerment thing, or
Yes.
is that okay?
Yes.
All right.
So everything we do, we've brought you this because this makes you one of our family. Would you like to put it on or no? Your choice. We have all these motorcycles that take you for a ride. Would you like to go for a ride or no? That's the first step in giving them their power back. It's all their choice. Never will we say put it on or get on a bike or everything is they're the boss.
And
When
then
it
they
comes
get to
us.
choose their name, and that puts
Absolutely.
them 100% in
In
control.
charge,
Yep.
taking their power back. And that's one of the things that we do is giving them their power back. Also, is we use our integrity. If we say we're going to be there 2 weeks from Sunday at 2:00,
You're there
oh,
2
we're
weeks from
fucking
Sunday.
there 2 weeks. Whether it's a blizzard, a hurricane, we're there.
You
And
might
it-
have to drag the bikes on a trailer, but
Absolutely.
you're fucking there.
No, if
Yeah.
your bike breaks down, you get a hold of one of your brothers and sisters.
And they go for
They
you.
will get you a bike,
and you'll be
and they
there.
will stay with yours.
Yes.
Yes.
That's how much we
And-
fucking mean it.
If Ginger Snap has a horrific death in the family, I'll be there in her place. But we are there. And sometimes these kids have never had that consistent
Consistency.
integrity ever in their whole life. And sometimes all you got to do to be a hero is show up. And it is a world of difference to these kids, and it works.
Why aren't you crying right now, Gordon? Jesus Christ.
I'm not. It's hot down here. My eyes are sweating.
Right?
You should be crying, like just bawling like a baby.
Oh, whatever.
These people are fucking amazing. All we're doing is recording podcasts down here. Like,
I'm enabling. That's what I'm doing.
You know. So we tell stories that have actually happened, and sometimes people get emotional, and so we have our public relations guy, our president. He's the best at it. He really is. Our child liaison, she's absolutely the best at what she does, and she's not lying when she tells you we don't usually have any clue what's going on with any of these kids, because we don't. And it's about protecting that child, you know, and she's right up front about it, you know. And so that all being said, when Lionheart does a presentation, most of the time there might be one pair of eyes that is listening to his presentation that are dry.
Yeah.
The rest away.
We don't bring Kleenex for a reason. But everything that this man speaks is true, and it's from his heart every single time. And he tells people right up front, you know what? If I let an Effenheimer slide, my apologies. It's just the way I am, and I'm passionate about what I do. Every single person that is involved with BACA is very passionate about what we do. And sometimes we get emotional, but never in front of kids.
Well, that honestly brings me to my next question is, you guys are dealing with serious shit on a pretty regular basis. How do you keep that, how do you compartmentalize that or deal with that, like, in your day-to-day life?
Therapy.
We have training.
We have training, and we have each other.
Okay.
Yeah, reach out.
Peer counseling.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
And we have debriefing, and we can reach out to
De-stressing.
each other, de-stressing, and I can reach out
Webinars.
to other child liaisons, and I go to therapy. I ain't gonna lie.
Well, it sounds like you got the brunt of it.
That's
I
why
call
go to
Sunshine.
therapy.
I always call Sunshine. Always.
Like, Jesus Christ, I don't know how you deal with any of this shit. Like, I
And
would
it's
be a
horrific.
mess. I would be
It's
a puddle
horrific.
in the corner.
It is,
Like,
but it's
Some of it's
unbelievable.
bad.
It's unbelievable, really.
She's awesome,
But,
awesome at what she does.
but I just say, me hearing it is nothing compared to what these
Living
kids
it.
have been through.
Yeah.
And so if we can help them, that's okay. That'll be, that'll get me through it. To just see the
Like when we have to ride in rain and it's like, oh, it's raining, it's hot. But to go
It's
and see that
nothing.
little child smile when, 15, 25 bikes show up and they're like, oh my God, they rode in the rain.
yeah.
For me, and it's like they're here and we're drowned rats in leather and we smell. But we're here and, just to see their smile on their face and to get our high fives, that's all we need.
Payday.
Yep.
You mentioned everybody has a job in the chapter. I mean, is there something that's kind of the designated, for lack of a better word, therapist? The one person that anyone can go to and talk
the
to.
chapter
or do you
mom.
Sunshine.
Mom.
We call Lionheart the founding father, and so therefore she is the founding mother, and she does get Mother's Day cards.
But they're,
Honest to goodness. Hey, Mom.
my mom, yeah. And also there is a position that's actually called a
Clinical therapist.
clinical therapist. We don't have one, but if there is someone that is an actual licensed therapist and they have experience and the schooling as a therapist, they can join a BACA chapter and be a clinical therapist. And actually, if we had one even in the whole state, could help the whole state. And we have actually had a gal in northern Wisconsin that was just someone that referred kids to us that had offered free counseling. So we do the best we can to, I said, this is so and she's offered free counseling. If you need a session, then she can refer someone in the area. And so we network and we work around that. But we're always welcoming people like that want to join BACA and be our clinical therapist. Always.
Yeah, clinical advisor, not therapist. My bad on that.
Clinical advisor, we call them.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So the psychological aspect seems like it would be the hardest part of the entire thing. Like,
Yes, it is. But we have training for that as well, like how we act in a courtroom. And there's several elements to that. If you're so upset you're going to lose it, you walk out of the courtroom. We don't stare down. We're not there to intimidate. We're not there. We're only there to support that child. And so we don't lose any kind of control. We don't, we're well educated on how to do that stuff. And if you're too emotional and you can't handle that, you walk.
No, you get out.
And so you have an event coming up March
Yes,
2nd.
yes.
You want to read the flyer off so I don't screw it up?
Yeah, so we have our inaugural soup cook-off and silent auction Saturday, March 2nd from noon to 4 at Uncle Mike's Emporium in Hudson. You can Google the address, or 736 Rodeo Drive, California in me, sorry.
That was
Rodeo.
This is the fucking Midwest.
We're not on Rodeo Drive.
I saw Mighty Ducks too. I know what's going on.
See, exactly.
Right?
Well, look at her.
Right?
She's Smurfy.
I thought it was a snork.
A snort. It is a snort. It is open to the public. We are letting people bring in soups. It is free to register. So if you want to contact our event coordinator, we can get the link to you guys for that as well. But it's event coordinator at gr-wi.bacaworld.org. You can send over your registration for that. Bring a soup.
But not a gazpacho.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Come on.
Actually,
Soup, chili,
Gazpacho
whatever.
in March?
Yeah,
right? Right?
Casey, we talked about this making up words on air, damn it.
Gazpacho's not a made-up word. It's a cold soup.
Yeah.
So, and just the last thing on that, everything that we earn, every dime that we earn, we don't see. That goes to the kids. We use that for counseling for the kids if they need it. We use it to purchase their cuts, their bears, their blankets. So, what's that? Tattoos. Yeah, tattoos are a huge hit for the kids. But everything that we do, everything that we earn, we don't see it. It's strictly for the need of the children. So that's why this is huge. Yeah, and it actually says all proceeds go to our mission.
Proceeds? You
Proceeds.
can process that?
Seriously?
How many beers did she drink?
Diet Coke is catching up
You
to you.
gave her
It
one
is.
sip, and look what happened.
Yeah, man. You guys got to keep that beer away from her, boy. Whoa.
All the proceeds go to the mission of empowering abused children. So
Or just come. I say show up at the door with a crock pot of soup, but I'm kind of a rule breaker.
Right.
Or
You know what?
just
Show
come
up.
Just come and
Show up and have
taste
fun.
the soup and check out the silent auction and have fun with us and the 50-50 raffles and support the mission.
Meet some good people
Yeah.
Where?
at Uncle Mike's Emporium on March 2nd.
Who?
Asshole.
off of Rodeo Drive, yo.
Rodeo Drive, yeah.
You can't say rodeo then y'all in the same sentence.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
We spent too much time in Oklahoma.
For anyone that's local, Western Wisconsin, Twin Cities area, Mike's Emporium is right off exit 4 in Hudson, right? So if you're headed from the Twin Cities, 94 east to exit 4,
Thank you.
hang a left, and it's not, maybe a quarter mile, if that, right off that exit ramp. Yeah.
Big white building on the left. You can't miss it.
And
Oh, our trailer.
is right in
Or
front of
trailer.
Our Baca
And if you
trailer.
do miss it, just keep driving. Because you shouldn't be there because it's really easy to see. Also, maybe stop driving.
Yeah.
And again, if anybody wants to get in reach with your chapter or with the organization, what's the best way to do that?
Best way to do it, I do 1-888-806-KIDS, option 7.
And thank you all for listening this week. Make sure to stay up to date on coming episodes and guests by following the show on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter now at Built in the Arena. You can also watch previous live recordings on YouTube by searching Rules of the Arena. Make sure to subscribe and get early access to new episodes. Anyone listening on iTunes, please make sure to go and give me a 5-star rating, whether you like it or not. It really helps me out. And if you don't like it, you can tell me why at roapodcastinfo@gmail.com. Thanks again to our sponsors, Blind Ninja Studios and Duck Hill Workshop. Make sure to check out their work as well on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And thanks again for all of you coming down to the studio today. I really appreciate it. I mean, without you here, the show wouldn't be possible.
Thanks
And
for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you next week.